Welcome to Solar Power World. Solar Speaks live here in the Unirac booth at Solar Power International 2015. I'm Kelly Pickerel, Associate Editor of Solar Power World, and with me today is Jigar Shah. He is the founder and former CEO of SunEdison and current president and co-founder of Generate Capital. So thanks, Jigar, for joining us today.
Thanks, Kelly.
So maybe you could start off with talking about your new finance company and what are you guys trying to do in the industry?
Well, when you think about the impact that the power purchase agreement really had on the solar industry, you can imagine that that same level of financial innovation could bring value to battery storage or solar hot water or combined heat and power, other areas. And so Generate Capital really strives to not only fund deals in the solar space, but also to fund deals in all those other spaces using the best practices of the solar industry.
Okay. So do you think we in the solar industry, do we need the federal ITC?
Well, I certainly think that the federal ITC has done a huge service to us to get us to where we are today. But absolutely, I think that the ITC is starting to become more and more difficult to monetize, and it's starting to create these haves and have-nots, right? So some folks have an easy time monetizing the ITC, and other folks can't get access to the capital necessary to do it. And so my sense is that it's time for us to phase it out. And you know, the reduction on the commercial side from 30 to 10% in 2016 to 2017 is probably a first step.
Okay. With residential solar, what can we do to get the utilities more on board and more accepting of residential solar?
Well, I think that the utility companies broadly haven't really signed up to growth, right? So when you think about like, well, what do you do to get them to sign up to electric vehicles? What do you get them to do to sign up to high efficiency air conditioners? There's lots of things that they should be doing that they're not doing. One way to get them to sign up to solar, though, is to allow them to own the inverter. When you look at all of the progress that's being made by Enphase and Tigo and SolarEdge and then all the other inverter manufacturers, you start to see that the utilities could actually control the inverters and get other benefits for the grid that are not just allotted for the solar system, which then provides more value to ratepayers.
Okay. So energy storage is a real big buzzword at all conferences. So does energy storage and solar, do they really need to work together to be successful?
Right now, energy storage plus solar is more hype than the reality, right? I mean, I think that technically, solar doesn't really save demand charges for companies because it's intermittent, you've got cloud cover that comes over, et cetera. So you can imagine that if you combine it with storage, you might be able to save demand charges. But the economics don't really work. And when you think about what else the customer could do, they could also do load control. So you could also control their loads with solar, which might be a lot cheaper than battery storage. But battery storage is here to stay. And so I definitely think that solar plus storage will be real, 4 or 5 years from now. But right now it's more hype than reality.
Okay. So how will America's Clean Power Plan and other climate change solutions, how is that going to affect the solar industry?
Well, I think one of the big things that you've seen in the solar industry is how cost-effective we've become, right? And I think when you think about the broader public or even the public service commissions and elected officials, they haven't all really kept up with our success. And so when you look at the Clean Power Plan, it sort of forces every state to do a review of what their options are. And I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised at how cheap we've become. And instead of fighting us, they're going to be like, wow, actually you guys have been the largest job creator in our state, and maybe we should do more of this.
So with Joe Biden coming tomorrow to speak at the show, what do you think he'll talk about, or how is he going to bring more attention to solar?
Well, I think that the vice president has been a huge champion of ours for the entire administration. Even more so, I think, than the president, actually. And so I do think it's fitting that he's here and not the president, because he really has been our champion within the White House complex. And I think he's going to talk about what we've accomplished under President Obama's watch. And I think he's also going to announce a $10 million grant to the Solar Foundation that they're making. And so I think he's going to talk about all the wonderful things that the government's doing to support the solar industry, which is great.
All right, well, I want to thank Jigar for joining us today at Solar Speaks Live here in the Unirac booth, and come back a little later and see some more interviews here at Solar Power International.